Can I hold your coat, sir? It's so cold. The billionaire laughed at the boy shivering in the cold. But what happened next made him cry. The snow fell heavy over Manhattan that Christmas Eve. Jonathan Blackwell stepped out of the jewelry store with a package in his hands and stopped when he heard that weak voice. "Sir, please." He looked around and saw him. Leaning against the wall, partially hidden by a dumpster, was a boy. He couldn't have been more than 8 years old. A shirt far too thin for that cold, torn pants, and bare feet. His small feet were bluish, his whole body shaking. "What do you want, kid?" Jonathan asked. The boy stood up with difficulty, hugging his own body. "Can I hold your coat, sir? It's so cold." "Hold my coat," Jonathan burst out, laughing. "This coat costs more than you've ever seen in your life. I know how to take care of expensive things, sir." "Oh yeah? And who taught you that?" "My mom. She worked at a laundromat." "Worked? And where is she now?" The boy lowered his eyes. A tear rolled down his dirty face. "She died, sir. 3 weeks ago. And your father?" "Never met him." "Grandparents, aunts, uncles, anyone?" "I don't have anyone." Jonathan crossed his arms, impatient. "How old are you, 8, sir? And how long have you been on the streets?" "Since my mom went away." "Went away? You said she died." "It's the same thing, isn't it?" The boy replied with devastating simplicity. "She went away and she's not coming back." Jonathan felt something strange in his chest, but ignored it. He pulled his wallet from his pocket. "Here, $20. Buy yourself some food." He held out the bill, but the boy didn't move. "I don't want charity, sir." "Excuse me? My mom said we don't accept what we haven't earned." Jonathan laughed, a dry and cruel laugh. "Kid, you're barefoot in the snow, shaking like a leaf, and you're refusing money. I'm offering to work, sir. I can carry your bags, hold your requat, clean your car. My car is a limousine with a driver. It doesn't need cleaning. Then I can do something else. Anything. You're 8 years old. What can you do that anyone would need?" The boy swallowed hard, but didn't look away. "I can be useful, sir. I learn fast." "Useful?" Jonathan shook his head. "Look at yourself. You're filthy, probably sick, and you want to convince me you can be useful? I'm dirty because I have nowhere to take a bath. I'm sick because it's cold. But that doesn't mean I don't know how to do anything." The answer surprised Jonathan. There was dignity in those words, a strength that didn't match the fragile body trembling before him. "What's your name, kid?" "Ethan, sir. Ethan Miller." "And where are you sleeping, Ethan Miller?" "Wherever I can, sir. Last night it was under a bridge. Tonight I don't know yet. There are shelters in the city. Why don't you go to one?" "I tried, sir. 3 of them today. All full." "Then try a 4th. Tomorrow the shelters will have more spots. I just need to get through tonight." Jonathan looked at the boy, then at the limousine waiting at the corner with the engine running, warm inside. "That's your problem," he said, putting his wallet away. "I can't solve the life of every beggar who shows up." "I'm not a beggar, sir." "Oh, no? Then what are you?" "I'm someone going through a hard time. My mom said hard times don't define who we are." Your mother sounded like a wise woman. She was, sir. She was the best person in the world. Jonathan stood silent for a moment. The cutting wind made the snowflakes swirl around them. And what would she say if she saw you here, on the street, freezing? Ethan thought before answering. She would tell me not to give up. She would say that God has a plan, even when we don't understand it. God. Jonathan let out a bitter laugh. Kid, if God existed, do you think you'd be barefoot in the snow while I have enough money to buy an entire building? Maybe that's why we met, sir. What do you mean? Maybe God put you in my path. Or put me in yours. Jonathan shook his head in disbelief. You're a strange kid. You know that. I've been told that before. The limousine honked softly. Gerald, the driver, was getting impatient. Primera need to go, Jonathan said. That's okay, sir. Thank you for talking to me. I didn't do anything. Yes, you did. It's been a long time since anyone stopped to talk to me. People usually pretend they don't see me. Jonathan swallowed hard. There was something about that boy that deeply unsettled him. Good luck, kid. He turned and started walking. Sir, Jonathan stopped, but didn't turn around. What? Merry Christmas. The words hit Jonathan like a slap. Here was a child with nothing. Absolutely nothing. Wishing Merry Christmas to a man who had everything and didn't even offer an old coat. He didn't respond. He got into the limousine and slammed the door. Home, Gerald. Yes, Mr. Blackwell. The car pulled away, but Jonathan looked through the rear window. The boy was still there, small and fragile against the lit-up skyscrapers, arms hugging his body, snow falling on his thin shoulders. Everything. All right, sir, Gerald asked through the mirror. Everything's fine, Jonathan lied, but as the limousine glided through the streets of Manhattan, he couldn't get those blue eyes out of his mind, that trembling voice, that unshakable dignity. Merry Christmas. The phrase echoed in his head like an accusation. What Jonathan Blackwell didn't know was that this encounter was just the beginning. That fate had crossed their paths for a reason, and that, in the coming hours, everything he believed about himself would be shattered, because some encounters are not coincidence. They are divine providence. The limousine crossed the bridge toward Greenwich, Connecticut. The Blackwell mansion sat on a 5-acre property, surrounded by century-old trees and a stone wall that separated the family from the rest of the world. We've arrived, sir, Gerald announced. Jonathan looked at the house. 32 rooms, heated pool, tennis court, wine cellar with bottles that cost more than cars, and yet everything felt cold. Empty. He entered through the front door and was greeted by silence. Catherine, he called. Nothing. He climbed the marble staircase and found his wife in the bedroom, sitting at the vanity, brushing her blonde hair that cost a fortune at salons. You're late, she said without turning around. Traffic was bad. It always is. Jonathan placed the jewelry store package on the bed. I brought your present. Catherine looked through the mirror, her green eyes emotionless. Another piece of jewelry? Don't you like jewelry? I do. I just don't know if I need another one. Jonathan sighed. What do you want me to do, Catherine? I work all day. I try to give you the best of everything. The best of everything, she repeated with a sad smile. Except your time. My time is what pays for all of this. I know, you always remind me. The silence that followed was heavy, loaded with years of unspoken words. Did the boys call? Jonathan asked. Brandon texted. Said he's not coming for Christmas. He's going to Aspen with his friends. And Tyler? Tyler is in his room, playing video games. As always. Jonathan rubbed his temples. I'll go talk to him. He walked down the hallway to his younger son's room. Tyler was 17 but acted like he was 12. He didn't study, didn't work, didn't do anything except spend his father's money. Jonathan knocked on the door. Tyler, can I come in? Whatever. Jonathan opened the door. The room was a chaos of clothes on the floor, food Doubler wrappers and screens glowing in every corner. Your brother isn't coming for Christmas. I know, he told me. And you. Are you at least staying home? Tyler shrugged, his eyes fixed on the game. Do I have a choice? All my friends went on trips. You could spend time with the family. What family? Tyler let out a dry laugh. You work all the time. Mom only thinks about parties, and Brandon pretends we don't exist. Jonathan felt the words like stab wounds. I do the best I can. Sure. What's that supposed to mean? Tyler finally paused the game and looked at his father. It means you think money solves everything. But it doesn't, Dad. Money can't buy a real family. Jonathan opened his mouth to respond, but couldn't find the words. He left the room in silence and went down to his study. He sat in the leather armchair and stared at the unlit fireplace. The house had state-of-the-art central heating, but he felt cold. A cold that came from within. Can I hold your coat, sir? It's so cold. The boy's voice echoed in his mind. Eitan, Melia, 8 years old. Orphan. Barefoot in the snow. Jonathan went to the bar and poured himself a whiskey. He drank it in one gulp and poured another. Merry Christmas. How could that boy, who had absolutely nothing, wish a stranger Merry Christmas? Where did that kindness come from? Jonathan thought about his own childhood. He had been poor too, son of a factory worker and a seamstress. He grew up in a tiny apartment in Brooklyn, sharing a room with 2 brothers. "You're going to be somebody, Johnny," his mother used to say, "but never forget where you came from." He had become somebody, built an empire from nothing, but in the process, he had completely forgotten where he came from. He had become exactly the kind of person he despised when he was young. The phone rang. It was Marcos, his assistant. "Mr. Blackwell, sorry to bother you on Christmas Eve." "What is it, Marcus?" "The board wants a meeting early tomorrow morning. They're worried about the hotel acquisition in Dubai." "Tomorrow is Christmas." "I know, sir, but they insist." Jonathan closed his eyes. "Tell them I'll be there at 8. "Yes, sir." He hung up and tossed the phone on the desk. Work. Always work, even on Christmas. He thought about the boy again. Where was he now? Still on the street? Under some bridge? Had he found shelter? "It's not my problem," he muttered to himself, but the image wouldn't leave his head. Those blue eyes, that trembling body, that impossible dignity. "My mom said we don't accept what we haven't earned." Jonathan thought about everything he had. The mansion, the cars, the jets, the bank accounts. How much of it had he really earned? And how much had he gained by stepping on others? He went upstairs, to the bedroom. Catherine was already lying down, her back to him. "Good night," he said. She didn't respond. Jonathan lay down and stared at the ceiling in the dark. The wind howled outside. The snow kept falling. And somewhere in Manhattan, an 80-year-old boy was fighting to survive another night. "Maybe God puts you in my path, or put me in yours." The phrase wouldn't leave him alone. Jonathan tossed and turned, but sleep wouldn't come. The image of the barefoot boy in the snow was branded in his mind like a hot iron. For the first time in many years, Jonathan Blackwell felt something he had forgotten existed. Guilt. And that guilt would be just the beginning of a transformation he never imagined possible. Jonathan woke up at 3 in the morning with his heart racing. He had dreamed about the boy. In Tidri, Ethan was lying in the snow, motionless, his lips blue, his eyes closed forever. He sat up in bed, in a cold sweat. "What's wrong?" Catherine murmured sleepily. "Nothing, nightmare. Take something and go back to sleep." Jonathan got up and went to the window. The snow had stopped, but the thermometer outside read 12 degrees. Below, 012 below, and that boy was on the street, barefoot. "This is crazy," he whispered to himself. He got dressed in silence and went downstairs. He grabbed the car keys from the desk drawer. "Mr. Blackwell." Jonathan turned around. It was Elena, the housekeeper, a 60-year-old woman who had worked for the family for 2 decades. "Helena, what are you doing up? I heard noise." "Is everything all right?" "It is. I need to take care of something. Now, it's 3 in the morning. I know what time it is." Helena studied him with those eyes that seemed to see right through people. "You seem troubled." Jonathan hesitated. Helena was the only person in that house who still treated him like a human being. "I met a boy today," he said, "on the street. An orphan. He was barefoot in the snow. My God, I didn't do anything. Helena, he asked me for work and I laughed in his face. And now you feel remorse. I don't know what I'm feeling. I just know I can't get him out of my head." Helena came closer and placed her hand on his arm. "Then go. Find the boy. What if he's not there anymore? What if he's—" Jonathan swallowed hard. He nodded and left. He drove at high speed through the empty roads. At Tissawar, there was no traffic. In 40 minutes, he was back in Manhattan. He parked in the same spot where the limousine had stopped hours before. He got out of the car, and the cold immediately cut into his face. The place where Ethan had been was empty. "Kid," Jonathan called. Ethan, silence. He walked along the sidewalk, looking in every corner, behind every dumpster. Ethan Miller? Nothing. Jonathan's heart raced. What if the boy had frozen to death? What if the dream was an omen? He walked faster, turning corners, going into alleys. Ethan. That's when he heard it. A weak cough, coming from a fire escape of a commercial building. Jonathan ran over and found the boy curled up on the metal steps, shaking violently. His lips cracked, his skin pale as paper. Ethan. The boy opened his eyes with difficulty. Sir, it's me, the man with the coat. You came back. I did. Come on, I'm getting you out of here. Jonathan took off his own coat and wrapped it around the boy. His body was ice cold. Dangerously cold. Can you walk? I think so. Ethan tried to stand, but his legs gave out. Jonathan picked him up in his arms. The boy weighed almost nothing. Easy. I've got you. Why did you come back? I don't know. I just knew I had to. He carried Ethan to the car and placed him in the back seat. He turned the heater up to maximum. Better. A little. Jonathan grabbed his phone and dialed the private hospital where he was a donor. This is Jonathan Blackwell. I'm bringing in a child with severe hypothermia. I want the best team ready when I arrive. Yes, Mr. Blackwell. How many minutes? 15. He hung up and sped through the empty streets. Sir Ethan's voice came weakly from the back seat. What? Is it? You didn't have to do this. I know. Then why? Jonathan looked in the rearview mirror. The boy's blue eyes were fixed on him, even shaking from cold, even barely able to speak. Because I was a jerk, Jonathan admitted. Because I should have helped you from the beginning. You don't owe me anything. Yes, I do. I owe you much more than you can imagine. They arrived at the hospital in 12 minutes. A team was already waiting at the entrance. They put Ethan on a stretcher and rushed him inside. Mr. Blackwell, a doctor approached. I'm Dr. Patterson. What happened? I found him on the street. Hypothermia. I don't know how long he was exposed to the cold. Family, he doesn't have any. He's an orphan. The doctor nodded and rushed inside. Jonathan stayed in the waiting room, pacing back and forth. A nurse brought coffee, but he couldn't drink it. 40 minutes later, Dr. Patterson came back. Mr. Blackwell, how is he? Stable. You got here just in time. Another hour or two and we would have lost him. Jonathan felt his legs go weak. He had to lean against the wall. Can I see him? You can, but he's sedated. He needs to rest. Jonathan entered the room. Ethan was lying in a white bed, covered with thermal blankets, monitors beeping around him. He looked even smaller there, even more fragile. He pulled up a chair and sat beside the bed. I'm sorry, kid, he whispered. I'm sorry for being a coward. Ethan didn't respond. He was sleeping deeply. Jonathan stayed there, watching the child breathe, thinking about all the choices he had made in life, the business deals he had prioritized over family, the money he had accumulated while losing everything that truly mattered. My mom said, hard times don't define who we are. The phrase echoed in his mind. But what if they did? What if hard times were exactly what revealed a person's true character? Jonathan had failed the first test. He had turned his back on a child in need, but now he had a second chance. On his time, he wasn't going to waste it. The sun began to rise over New York, painting the sky orange and pink. It was Christmas morning, and for the first time in many years, Jonathan Blackwell wasn't thinking about money, business, or meetings. He was thinking only about an 8-year-old boy who had survived the coldest night of his life, and about how, in some inexplicable way, that barefoot kid in the snow had begun to thaw the heart of a billionaire. Ethan woke up late in the afternoon on Christmas Day. He opened his eyes slowly, confused by the white surroundings and the sounds of beeping machines. Where am I? Jonathan, who had dozed off in the chair beside him, woke up immediately. Easy. Kid, you're in the hospital. You're safe. Ethan turned his head, and his eyes widened when he saw the billionaire there. You stayed this whole time? I did. Why? Because I needed to make sure you were going to be okay. Ethan tried to sit up, but his body was still too weak. Don't push it, Jonathan said. You almost died from hypothermia. I've been cold before. Not like this. The doctor said a few more hours, and Jonathan couldn't finish the sentence. The idea that this boy could have died while he slept in his heated mansion was unbearable. Sir. What? Are you crying? Jonathan raised his hand to his face. He was. He hadn't even noticed. Must be the exhaustion, he lied. Ethan was silent for a moment, studying the face of the man who had laughed at him hours before. You're strange. You know that? Jonathan let out a surprised laugh. Why? Because yesterday you treated me badly. And now you're here crying over me. People change, kid, in just a few hours. Sometimes, one moment is enough to change everything. The door opened, and Dr. Patterson came in with a smile. Look who's awake. How are you feeling, Ethan? Better, I think. You gave us quite a scare. But you're a fighter. She checked the monitors and made some notes. Mr. Blackwell, can I speak with you outside? Of course. Jonathan followed the doctor into the hallway. What's the situation? He asked. Physically, he'll recover. A few days of observation, and he'll be fine. And the problem? The doctor sighed. The problem is what happens after. He's a minor, an orphan, with no documents. We're required to contact social services. And what will they do? Probably place him in a group home until they find an adoptive family. But at his age, the chances are... What? Hello, Mr. Blackwell. Couples prefer babies or young children. 80-year-old boys are rarely adopted. Most stay in the system until they turn 18. And then they're thrown back on the street. Unfortunately, yes. Jonathan felt anger rising. That's ridiculous. This kid is smart. Well, Menard has dignity. How can they just discard him? I agree, but that's the system. Unless what? The doctor hesitated. Unless someone is interested in taking responsibility for him, temporary guardianship, custody, something like that. Jonathan stood in silence, processing the words. Think about it, the doctor said before walking away. He went back to the room. Ethan was looking out the window, watching the snow that had started falling again. Sir? You can call me Jonathan. Jonathan, the boy repeated, testing the name. Can I ask you something? Of course. What's going to happen to me now? Jonathan pulled up the chair and sat facing him. What do you want to happen? I don't know. I never had much of a choice. And if you did, what do you dream of? Ethan was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice came out, almost inaudible. I dream of a home. It doesn't have to be big. It just needs to be warm. And have someone waiting for me when I get there. Jonathan felt his heart clench. Your mom waited for you, always. No matter what time it was, she left the light on and stood at the door. What was she like? Ethan's face lit up. Beautiful, the most beautiful woman in the world. She had brown hair and green eyes, and she smelled like lavender because she worked with clean clothes all day. Were you happy? Very. We had almost nothing, but we had each other. She said that was enough. And what happened to her? The light in Ethan's eyes disappeared. She got sick. It started with a cough that wouldn't go away. Then came the fever. I asked her to go to the doctor, but she said we didn't have the money. And then one night she didn't wake up. Jonathan closed his eyes, feeling the pain of those words. You were alone when she was. I tried to wake her up, but I couldn't. I called the neighbors. They called an ambulance, but it was too late. And after that, people from the government came. They said they were going to take me somewhere safe, but I saw it in their eyes. It wasn't a safe place. It was a prison for kids without families. You ran away? I did. I'd rather be on the street than in a cage. Jonathan stood up and went to the window. The snow was falling harder now. Down below, people walked quickly, carrying gifts, heading to warm homes where families waited for them. Ethan, what if you didn't have to go back to the street? What do you mean? Jonathan turned to face him. What if I took care of you? The boy's eyes went wide. Are you joking? I've never been more serious in my life, but... Punto? But why? You don't even know me. I know enough. I've seen your dignity, your courage, your heart. That's more than I can say about most people I've known for years. Ethan started to cry. Silent tears streaming down his thin face. Nobody ever wanted to take care of me. Only my mom. Jonathan came closer and, hesitantly, placed his hand over the boy's. I do. If you'll let me. And your family? Your wife? Jonathan's face hardened. Let me worry about that. I don't want to cause problems. Kid, you're not a problem. You're the solution. Solution to what? Jonathan took a deep breath. To everything that's wrong in my life. Ethan looked at this rich and powerful man, who hours before had laughed at him in the snow, and saw something he didn't expect. He saw a man just as lost as he was. And in that moment, two broken souls began to recognize each other. Jonathan returned home late in the afternoon with his decision made. His heart pounded as he parked in the mansion's garage. He knew the conversation ahead wouldn't be easy. Catherine was in the living room, flipping through a fashion magazine. She didn't even look up when he walked in. Where were you? You disappeared all night. We need to talk. About what? Your meeting tomorrow. I canceled the meeting. Catherine finally looked at him, surprised. You canceled. You never cancel meetings. Well, I canceled this one. Jonathan sat in the armchair across from her. Something happened last night. What happened? I met a boy on the street. An orphan. He was barefoot in the snow. Catherine frowned. And what does that have to do with you? Everything. I ignored him. Catherine, I laughed in his face. And I came home like nothing happened. And he almost froze to death. I went back in the middle of the night and found him nearly frozen. I took him to the hospital. You did what? I saved his life. Catherine closed the magazine and crossed her arms. Jonathan, that's very noble. But what exactly do you want from me? I want to bring him here. The silence that followed was deafening. Bring him here? Catherine repeated slowly. A street kid. To our home. He's not a street kid. He's a child who lost his mother and has no one in the world. And what do we have to do with that? There are shelters, orphanages, social services that will throw him into a broken system where he'll never have a chance. Catherine stood up, her expression hardening. Jonathan, have you lost your mind? We don't know this boy. We don't know anything about him. I know enough. You know what? That he was on the street. That he probably has problems. Trauma. Diseases. He's 8 years old. Catherine, 8. And he has more dignity than most adults I know. Dignity doesn't pay the bills. We have enough money to support an army of children. It's not about money. Then what is it about? Catherine moved closer, her face red with anger. It's about our lives. Our reputation. What will people say when they find out we brought a street kid to live with us? Honestly, I don't care. Well, you should. You're Jonathan Blackwell. Your image is everything! Jonathan stood up too, facing his wife. My image is a lie. This house is a lie. This marriage is a lie. I'm tired of pretending everything is fine when everything is falling apart. Catherine stepped back, as if she'd been slapped. What are you saying? I am saying I looked in the mirror last night and didn't recognize the man I saw. I've become everything I swore I'd never be. Cold, arrogant, empty. Jonathan, that boy offered me work. Work? Catherine, he was shivering from cold, barefoot, hungry, and still refused to accept charity. He wanted to earn what he received. And that impressed you. It destroyed me, because I realized that with all my billions, I don't have half the dignity that kid has. Tyler appeared on the stairs. drawn by the shouting. "What's going on?" "Your father has lost his mind," Catherine said. "He wants to bring a homeless kid to live with us." "He's not homeless," Jonathan repeated. Tyler came down the steps slowly. "What boy?" Jonathan looked at his son, "An orphan I found on the street yesterday. He's 8 years old. He almost froze to death tonight. And you want to bring him here?" "I do." Tyler was silent for a moment. "Tin's rude. Fine by me." Catherine turned to her son, shocked. "Tyler." "What? Mom?" "The house has 30 rooms. We don't even use half of them. What's the problem with having one more person?" "The problem is, we don't know this child. We don't know each other either," Tyler said with brutal honesty. "We live together, but we're strangers. At least this kid might bring something different." Jonathan looked at his son with surprise. It was the most mature thing Tyler had ever said. "Are you serious?" "I am, Dad. This house is a tomb. Maybe a real kid can bring some life to it." Catherine shook her head in disbelief. "You're both crazy." "Maybe," Jonathan said, "but for the first time in years, I'm doing something that feels right. And if I don't agree," Jonathan took a deep breath, "then you'll have to decide what's more important, your image or our marriage." "Is that an ultimatum?" "It's a choice. Your choice." Catherine looked at her husband, then at her son. The two men were united for the first time in years. "I need time to think. The boy is being discharged in 2 days. I need an answer by then." Jonathan turned and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" Catherine asked. "Back to the hospital. I promised I'd be there when he woke up again. Tomorrow is New Year's Eve. I know you're going to spend it at the hospital. If I have to, yes." Jonathan stopped at the door and turned one last time. "Catherine, I know I've failed as a husband. I've failed as a father. I've failed as a human being. But this is my chance to do something different. To be someone better. If you can't understand that, then maybe we have bigger problems than an orphaned boy." He left without waiting for an answer. In the car, on the way to the hospital, Jonathan felt a strange peace. The conversation had been difficult, but necessary. For the first time in decades, he was fighting for something that truly mattered. The phone rang. It was Tyler. "Dad, well, I just wanted to say, I'm on your side. Seriously." Jonathan felt his eyes sting. "Thank you, son. And Dad, yes, maybe this kid will be good for us. For all of us. Maybe he will." He hung up and kept driving through the snow that was starting to fall again. Fate had put Ethan in his path, and Jonathan was determined not to fail this time, no matter the cost. Jonathan arrived at the hospital after the sun had already set. Christmas lights blinked in the windows of the rooms, trying to bring some joy to those who would spend the holidays hospitalized. He entered Ethan's room and found him sitting up in bed, drawing on a pad of paper some nurse had given him. "Hey, kid!" Ethan looked up and smiled, a genuine smile that lit up his entire thin face. "You came back. I promised I would." Jonathan pulled up the chair and sat beside the bed. "What are you drawing?" Ethan hesitated, then turned the paper around. It was a simple drawing, done with colored pencils. A small house with a tree in front, smoke coming from the chimney, and 2 figures holding hands. "Who are those people?" "Me and my mom. In the house we were going to have someday." "You didn't have a house?" "We had an apartment. Small, but it was ours. After she got sick, we couldn't afford it anymore. We moved to a boarding house room, and when she died, they kicked me out. Said a kid couldn't stay there alone." Jonathan felt rage boiling in his veins. Nobody tried to help. Some people tried, but I was scared. Scared of what? Of going to those places where they put kids. I heard bad stories. "What kind of stories?" Ethan lowered his eyes. "Stories about kids who go in and never come out the same." Jonathan sat in silence. He knew the system was broken, but hearing it from this 8-year-old boy made it all more real. "Ethan, Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you choose me last night? There were other people on the street. Why did you come talk to me? Ethan thought for a moment. I can't really explain it. I saw you coming out of that store and I felt something. Felt what? That you were sad. On the inside, you know, like me. Jonathan swallowed hard. You felt that just by looking at me? My mom said I have a gift. That I can see people's pain. And what else did you see in me? Ethan stared at him with those deep blue eyes. I saw a lost man who has everything but feels empty, who smiles on the outside but cries on the inside. The words hit Jonathan like an arrow to the chest. Your mother was right. You do have a gift. She had a lot of gifts too. She knew how to make people feel special, even when we had nothing to give. Segabe lao. What was she like? Tell me more about her. Ethan's face lit up. Her name was Sarah Miller. She was 32 when she went away. 32. She was young. Everyone said that she was too young to have so many problems. What problems? Money, mostly. My dad disappeared before I was born. She raised me alone, working at 2, sometimes 3 laundromats. She never complained. She said I was the best thing that ever happened to her. You were? Ethan smiled sadly. You can't know that. Yes, I can. Because I look at you and I see everything she taught you. Courage, dignity, kindness. That doesn't just appear on its own. Someone planted it. A tear rolled down the boy's face. I miss her every day, every hour, every minute. I know, kid, I know. Have you ever lost someone? Jonathan was silent for a long moment. I lost my mother too, 20 years ago. What was she like? A lot like yours. Hardworking, loving, always putting her children first. She died of cancer when I was 30. Do you still miss her? Every day, every hour, every minute. Ethan smiled softly. Then we have that in common. We have a lot more in common than you think. Kid, what do you mean? Jonathan took a deep breath. I grew up poor too, Ethan. Very poor. Son of a factory worker. Raised in a tiny apartment in Brooklyn. Shared a room with 2 brothers. Sometimes there was no food on the table. Really? My mother sewed clothes on the side to make a little extra cash. My father worked in a factory 12 hours a day. But now you're rich. I am. I built everything from nothing, but in the process, I forgot who I was. I forgot where I came from. How does someone forget that? It doesn't happen all at once. It happens little by little. You make money and start surrounding yourself with different people. You change houses, change cars, change friends. And one day you wake up and realize you've become exactly the kind of person you used to despise. What kind? The kind who ignores barefoot children in the snow. Ethan sat in silence, absorbing the words. But you came back. I did. Almost too late. It wasn't too late. I'm here. Jonathan looked at that boy, fragile yet strong, small yet mighty, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Ethan, do you believe in God? I do. My mom taught me to pray every night. And you still pray, even after everything that happened? I pray even more, because I know she's up there watching over me. And what do you ask for in your prayers? Ethan hesitated. Can I tell you a secret? The night I met you, I had prayed earlier. I asked God to send someone, anyone. I was tired of being alone. Jonathan felt a chill run down his spine. You prayed that? I did. And a few hours later, you sewed up. But I was horrible to you. But you came back. That's what matters. Jonathan leaned forward, his eyes glistening. Ethan, what if God sent you to me too? What do you mean? I was also asking for something. Not in prayers, because I'd forgotten how to pray, But inside, I was asking for a reason to keep going, for something that made sense. And do I make sense? You make all the sense in the world, kid. Ethan reached out and held Jonathan's hand. It was a small hand, but firm. My mom said, "God writes straight, with crooked lines." Your mother was very wise. She also said that people find each other when they need each other. Do you think we needed to find each other? Ethan smiled. That pure smile that lit up everything around him. I think so. You needed me, and I needed you. In that moment, Jonathan Blackwell knew with absolute certainty that this encounter had not been a coincidence. It had been providence, and his life would never be the same. 2 days later, Ethan was discharged from the hospital. Jonathan arrived early to pick him up, bringing new clothes, a warm coat, and a pair of sneakers. "This is for me," Ethan asked, looking at the bags. "It is. I couldn't take you home in that torn shirt." Ethan opened the bags carefully, as if they were treasures. He touched the navy blue coat with reverence. "This is the most beautiful coat I've ever seen. Try it on." The boy put on the coat and looked at himself in the bathroom mirror. His eyes filled with tears. "What's wrong?" Jonathan asked, worried. "You don't like it?" "I love it. It's just, my mom always wanted to give me a coat like this, but she never could." Jonathan knelt down in front of him. "Ethan, your mother gave you something far more valuable than any coat." "What?" "A good heart, and you can't buy that in any store." Ethan hugged Jonathan. It was a tight, desperate hug from someone who hadn't received affection in weeks. Jonathan hesitated for a second, then wrapped his arms around the boy. "Thank you," Ethan whispered. "For the coat, for everything." They left the hospital hand in hand. Jonathan's car was parked out front. "Wow," Ethan said when he saw the vehicle. "This car is yours." "It is, but it's not as fancy as the limousine. I've never ridden in a limousine." "Someday you will." During the drive to Greenwich, Ethan couldn't stop looking out the window, fascinated by everything. New York is so big. "Were you born here?" "I was born in Brooklyn, but then we moved around a lot. My mom went wherever there was work." "How many places did you live?" Ethan counted on his fingers. 7? No, 8. Sometimes I'll lose count. That must have been hard. A little. But my mom said home is where we're together. So anywhere was home, as long as I was with her. Jonathan swallowed hard. His mansion had 32 rooms, but it had never felt like a home. "Ethan, I need to tell you something." "What?" "My wife, she's still not completely convinced about you coming to live with us." Ethan's face fell. "She doesn't want me there. She doesn't know you yet. Sometimes people are afraid of what they don't know. I understand. If you want to drop me off at a shelter, No. That's not going to happen. You're coming to my house, and you're staying there. I'm just warning you, it might be awkward at first. I know how to be invisible. I learned on the streets. You don't need to be invisible." "Ethan, not anymore." They arrived at the mansion an hour later. Ethan's eyes went wide when he saw the property. "All of this is one house." "It is. You could fit 100 people in here, but only for live here. Now 5, with you." Gerald opened the gate, and they drove in. Ethan stared at everything with his mouth open. The snow-covered gardens, the frozen fountain, the century-old trees. "It looks like a castle." "Sometimes it does." They parked in front of the main entrance. Helena was already waiting at the door. "Mr. Blackwell." "And this must be Ethan." "That's me, ma'am." Helena smiled warmly. "What a polite young man. Come, dear. I prepared a special room for you." Ethan looked at Jonathan, hesitant. "Go ahead. Helena will take care of you. And you, I need to talk to my wife. I'll find you in a little while." Ethan followed Helena inside, looking back with every step. Jonathan took a deep breath and entered through the side door, straight to the study where he knew Catherine would be waiting. She was sitting in the armchair, a glass of wine in her hand. So you really brought him? I did. And now, what's the plan? I'm filing the paperwork for temporary guardianship tomorrow. Temporary guardianship? Jonathan, this is insane. Why is it insane to want to help a child? Because he's not our son. So what? Does he have to be our son to deserve help? Catherine stood up, air-faced red. You're putting a stranger inside our home. He's not a stranger. He's a scared child who needs a home. And why does that home have to be ours? Because I can. Because I have the means, and because it's the right thing to do. The door opened, and Tyler came in. Where is A? Helena took him to his room. Jonathan answered. Can I meet him? Of course, A. Tyler ran up the stairs. Catherine shook her head. You've turned the family against me. I haven't turned anyone against you. I'm trying to do something good for the first time in years. And our marriage. Jonathan looked at his wife for a long moment. Catherine, we haven't had a marriage in a long time. We have an arrangement. I work, you spend, and we pretend everything is fine. That's not true. Yes, it is, and you know it. The difference is that now I don't want to pretend anymore. Catherine stood in silence, her eyes glistening. Are you asking me for a divorce? I'm asking you for a chance to rebuild, to be a real family. With Ethan, with Tyler, with me. And if I can't do it, then we figure it out together. But at least we try. Before Catherine could respond, they heard laughter coming from upstairs. Jonathan climbed the stairs and found Tyler and Ethan in the bedroom, playing video games. Dude, you're good, Tyler said. I've never played this before. Seriously, and you're already beating me. Ethan smiled. That smile that lit up everything. I learned fast. Jonathan leaned against the doorframe, watching the two of them. His 17-year-old son, who barely left his room, was laughing and talking with an 8-year-old boy he had met just minutes ago. Dad, this kid is amazing, Tyler said. I know. Ethan looked at Jonathan with hope in his eyes. Can I really stay? You can, for as long as you want. And if I want to stay forever, Jonathan felt his heart clench. Then you stay forever. Ethan dropped the controller and ran to hug Jonathan. Tyler watched the scene with a smile. Dad. What? I think this is going to be the best New Year's of our lives. Jonathan hugged Ethan tight, feeling for the first time in years that his house might finally become a home, and that maybe, just maybe, there was still hope for all of them. The weeks that followed were ones of transformation. Ethan started attending a private school near the mansion, recommended by Helena. On the first day, Jonathan took him personally. Are you nervous? He asked in the car. A little. I've never been to a school like this. Like what? Big. Nice. With kids who have everything. You have everything now, too. Ethan shook his head. It's not the same. They were born with everything. I got it as a gift. Does that bother you? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I don't deserve it. Jonathan stopped the car in front of the school and turned to the boy. Ethan, look at me. The boy obeyed. You deserve every good thing that happens in your life. You hear me? You've been through things most of these kids can't even imagine. And you're still here, standing, fighting. My mom used to say the same thing, because it was true, and it still is. Ethan smiled and opened the car door. Wish me luck. You don't need luck. Go in there and show them who you are. The boy waved and walked toward the entrance. Jonathan watched until he disappeared through the doors. At lunchtime, he got a call from the school. His heart raced. Mr. Blackwell, this is Principal Morrison. Did something happen to Ethan? Something did, yes, but it's not bad. What do you mean? In math class, he solved a problem that none of the other students could. The teacher was impressed. Jonathan let out the breath he'd been holding. He's special, we noticed. We'd like to do a more complete evaluation. We believe he may have above-average abilities. Do whatever's necessary. I want the best for him. We will, Mr. Blackwell. When Ethan came home that afternoon, he was glowing. How was it? Jonathan asked. Amazing. The math teacher said she's never seen anyone solve that problem so fast. I heard. The principal called me. She called. Did I do something wrong? The opposite. They want to evaluate you. They think you might be gifted. Ethan frowned. What does gifted mean? It means your brain works faster than most people's. My mom said I was smart. She was right. Tyler appeared in the living room, throwing himself on the couch. What's up, Janaeus? Did you crush it at school? I think so. This kid's going places, Dad. Jonathan looked at the two of them, his biological son and the boy he had rescued from the snow, talking like they were real brothers. Tyler, do you have homework? Yeah, then go do it. No arguments. And Ethan, you too. Yes, sir. The two went upstairs together, still talking. Jonathan smiled. How long had it been since he'd heard Tyler talk to anyone like that? Catherine walked into the room, watching the scene. They get along well. They do. I didn't expect that. Neither did I. She sat in the armchair, hesitant. Jonathan, I need to apologize to you. For what? For reacting so badly. You were right. Primetawa is scared of what? Of change. Of losing control, of having to face that our family was broken. Jonathan sat beside her. We can fix it. Can we? If we want to, if we really try. Catherine took her husband's hand. I've been watching you these past weeks. With Ethan. You're different. Different how? More present? More human. You seem like the man I fell in love with 20 years ago. I lost that man along the way. But you found him again. Jonathan squeezed his wife's hand. Do you want to try? Really try? But I need time. With Ethan, with everything. Time. We have. That night, for the first time in years, they all had dinner together. Jonathan, Catherine, Tyler, and Ethan, sitting at the table, talking like a real family. Tell Mom what happened at school, Tyler said. Catherine's eyes widened at the mom, but she didn't correct him. The teacher said, I'm gifted. Really? That's wonderful. Mr. Jonathan said they're going to do tests. Are you excited? I think so. I've never done tests like that. Catherine smiled, a genuine smile that Jonathan hadn't seen in a long time. You're going to do great. I'm sure of it. After dinner, Ethan helped Helena clear the dishes. You don't have to do that, dear, Helena said. Like to. My mom and I always wash the dishes together. Helena looked at the boy with tenderness. Your mother raised an angel. She was the angel. I just learned from her. Jonathan watched from the doorway, his heart overflowing. Mr. Jonathan, Ethan called. What? Can I ask you something? Of course. Can I call you something else? Mr. Jonathan is too formal. What do you want to call me? Ethan hesitated, biting his lip. I don't know. What would you prefer? Whatever your heart tells you. The boy was silent for a moment, then spoke quietly. Can I call you Dad? The question hit Jonathan like a bolt of lightning. His eyes filled with tears. Instantly. You can, if that's what you want. It's what I want more than anything in the world. Jonathan knelt down and hugged Ethan tightly. Then I'm your dad. From now on, forever. Forever. Catherine, who had approached without being noticed, wiped away a tear. And me? She asked softly. What do you want to call me? Ethan looked at her cautiously. I don't know. You're still deciding if you want me here. Catherine knelt beside Jonathan. I've already decided, Ethan. And I'm sorry it took me so long. So can I call you Mom? You can, sweetheart. It would be an honor. Ethan looked at the two of them, then at Tyler, watching from the stairs. Do I have a family again? You do, Jonathan said. A real family. Ethan started to cry, not from sadness, but from joy, tears that washed away weeks of pain, fear, and loneliness. "My mom is watching this from up Terrian Ikinosis." "She is," Catherine said, "and she's very proud of you." That night, for the first time since Sarah Miller had passed away, Ethan slept in peace, because he finally had a home and a family that loved him. 3 months had passed. Ethan was flourishing like a plant that had finally received sun and water. His grades were the best in the class. He had made friends, and the smile that was once rare was now constant. Jonathan had started the official adoption process. The lawyers were working on the paperwork, and everything seemed to be on track. Until that March morning, the intercom buzzed at 9 o'clock. Helena answered, "Mr. Blackwell. There are 2 people from Child Protective Services who want to speak with you." Jonathan felt his stomach drop. "Send them in." 2 officials in gray suits entered the room, a middle-aged man with a stern expression and a younger woman carrying a thick folder. "Mr. Blackwell, I'm Richard Coleman, and this is my colleague, Patricia Webb. We're here about Ethan Miller." "What about Ethan?" "We received an anonymous complaint alleging irregularities in the guardianship process." "Irregularities? What irregularities?" The woman opened the folder. "The complaint alleges that you are keeping the child without proper legal authorization and that the environment may not be appropriate." "That's absurd. My lawyers are handling all the documentation. Even so, we are required to investigate. We need to speak with the child. Alone." Jonathan felt anger rising. "You're not speaking to him alone. He's 8 years old and has been through enough trauma. Mr. Blackwell, if you don't cooperate, we'll be forced to take more drastic measures." "What measures?" "Temporary removal of the child until the investigation is complete." "You're not taking him from this house." Catherine came into the room, alerted by the shouting. "What's happening?" "They want to take Ethan." "What do you mean, take him?" Richard Coleman repeated the explanation. Catherine went pale. "This can't be happening. Mrs. Blackwell, we understand it's difficult, but we need to follow protocol." "Protocol? You want to rip a child from a loving home because of an anonymous complaint? It's our duty to investigate any allegation." Jonathan grabbed his phone. "Marcus, call my lawyers, now. All of them." Ethan appeared at the top of the stairs, his eyes wide. "What's happening? Why is everyone yelling?" Jonathan ran up and knelt in front of him. "Ethan, listen. There are some people here who want to talk to you." "What people?" "From the government. They need to make sure you're okay. But I am okay. I'm better than ever." "I know, son, but they need to verify." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "Are they going to take me away?" "No. I won't let them. Promise." "I promise." Richard Coleman climbed the stairs. "Ethan, we need to talk to you." Ethan hid behind Jonathan. "I don't want to go with you. No one is going to hurt you. We just want to ask some questions." "I'm not going. This is my dad now. This is my family." Tyler appeared in the hallway, his face red with anger. "Leave my brother alone." "Young man, please don't interfere." "Interfere? You're invading our home and threatening our family." The situation was escalating. Jonathan knew he needed to stay calm. "Fine. You can talk to Ethan, but I stay present. Mr. Blackwell, protocol requires. To hell with protocol. He's a traumatized child. I'm not leaving him alone with strangers." The front door opened and 3 lawyers entered, led by Margaret Sullivan, the best family attorney in the state. "No one does anything else until I review the documentation," she announced. "And who are you?" Richard asked. "Margaret Sullivan. I represent the Blackwell family, and you're about to make a very serious mistake." She took the folder from Patricia's hands, an anonymous complaint, without concrete evidence. "You know, that's not enough for removal. We have the authority to investigate." "Investigate? Yes. Remove? No. Not without a court order." "We can get an order. Try. And I guarantee that within 24 hours, you'll be answering for harassment and abuse of authority." Richard Coleman hesitated. "We just want to ensure the child's well-being. His well-being is ensured. Look around. This child was freezing to death on the streets 3 months ago. Now he has a home, a family. He's at the best school in the region. What more do you want?" Petrea flipped through some papers. "The complaint mentions that Mr. Blackwell has a history of cold and distant behavior with his own family." "So what?" Catherine intervened. "Many families have problems. That doesn't mean we don't love our son." "Arasa," Richard repeated. "He's not legally your son yet. He will be soon," Margaret said. "The process is underway." Everything by the book. Ethan, who had been silent, finally spoke. "Can I say something?" Everyone looked at him. "Before I met Mr. Jonathan, I wanted to die." The silence was absolute. My mom had gone away. I was alone, cold, hungry. Nobody saw me on. Nobody cared. I was invisible. Tears streamed down the boy's face, but he continued. "Then he showed up. And even though he was rude at first, I came back. He saved me. He brought me here. He gave me a family." Ethan looked directly at Richard Coleman. "You want to know if I'm okay?" "I am. For the first time since my mom died, I'm okay. And if you take me away from here, you'll kill me. Not with a gun, but you will." Patricia lowered her eyes, visibly shaken. "Richard, maybe we should. We haven't finished the investigation." "Yes, you have," Margaret said. "You heard the child. You saw the environment. There's nothing irregular here except an anonymous complaint that was clearly made by someone with bad intentions." "Who would make a complaint like that?" Catherine asked. Jonathan closed his eyes. He knew exactly who. "Ricardo Tavares, my former business partner. I forced him out of the company 2 months ago. This is revenge." Margaret wrote down the name. "I'll investigate. If it's true, he'll face criminal charges." Richard Coleman put away his papers. "We'll return if there's new evidence." "There won't be," Margaret said. "Because there's nothing wrong with this family." The officials left. As soon as the door closed, Ethan ran into Jonathan's arms. "Are they coming back?" "No, son. They're not." "How do you know?" "Because now they know the truth. And the truth always wins." Catherine embraced them both, and Tyler joined in. For people united by love, by struggle, by the choice to be a family. And in that moment, Jonathan Blackwell understood that the greatest victory of his life hadn't been building an empire. It had been building a home. Time passed like a calm river after the storm. The investigation against Ricardo Tavares confirmed that he had made the false complaint out of revenge. He was prosecuted and convicted, losing everything he had built through lies and manipulation. Ethan's adoption process was finalized on a sunny spring morning. The entire family appeared in court. "Ethan Miller," the judge said, "from this day forward, you officially become Ethan Miller Blackwell. Congratulations." Ethan looked at Jonathan with teary eyes. "Now it's real. Now it's real. Son." The boy jumped into his father's arms, crying with joy. Catherine embraced them both, and Tyler messed up his little brother's hair. "Welcome to the family, officially, Squirt." "Thank you, Tyler." "Hey, it's Big Brother to you now." Ethan laughed. "Okay, Big Brother." Outside the courthouse, journalists waited. The story of the billionaire who rescued an orphan from the snow had gone viral, touching hearts around the world. "Mr. Blackwell, how do you feel?" a reporter asked. Jonathan looked at Ethan, then at the camera. "I feel complete. For the first time in my life." "And what would you say to other people who have the means to help but hesitate?" "I'd tell them not to hesitate. A child doesn't need mansions or luxury cars. They need Lao presence. Someone who says you matter. Anyone can give that." Ethan tugged on the sleeve of Jonathan's suit jacket. "Can I say something too?" "Of course. Son." The boy looked at the camera with those blue eyes that had captured a nation. "I want to thank my mom, the one in heaven. She taught me everything I know, and I want to thank my new dad. He saved me when I thought nobody cared anymore. What would you say to other children who are going through what you went through? A reporter asked. I'd tell them not to give up. I know it hurts. I know it feels like nobody sees us. But someone will. It might take time, but it'll happen. Just don't give up. The interview went viral within hours. Millions of people watched, shared, and cried. A few weeks later, Jonathan received a call that would change things even more. Mr. Blackwell, this is the Hope for Children Foundation. We'd like to propose a partnership. What kind of partnership? We want to create a national program to rescue and place homeless children for adoption, and we'd like you to be the ambassador. Jonathan looked at Ethan, who was doing homework at the table beside him. I accept. On one condition. What's that? My son will be ambassador alongside me. Ethan looked up. Me? You? No one better to speak about this than someone who lived it. The program launched a few weeks later. Jonathan invested millions. But more importantly, he invested time. He and Ethan visited shelters, schools, underserved communities. They told their story. They inspired others. Within months, adoptions across the country increased significantly. Hundreds of children found homes, and every time a family was formed, Ethan received a thank you letter. Dad, look at this one, he said one night, showing a handwritten letter. It's from a girl named Sophie. She was adopted after seeing our interview. Jonathan read the letter aloud. Dear Ethan, I had given up on having a family. I thought nobody would want me. But then I saw you on TV and I thought, if it happened to him, it can happen to me. And it did. Now I have a mom and dad who love me. Thank you for giving me hope. With love, Sophie. Ethan was crying. We did this, Dad. No, son, you did this. Your courage. Your story. Our story. Jonathan hugged his son. Our story. Years passed. Ethan grew up, but never lost the humility that life on the streets had taught him. He graduated with honors, always among the top students. At graduation, he was chosen to give the speech. When I was 8 years old, he began, looking at the packed auditorium, I was barefoot in the snow, asking to hold a stranger's coat. I had no home, no family, no hope. The audience was in complete silence. That stranger laughed at me, ignored me, walked away, and he told, this is how my life is going to be, invisibly. Ethan looked at Jonathan, sitting in the front row next to Catherine and Tyler. But he came back, in the middle of the night, in the worst snowstorm of the year. Kamibakan, he saved my life, not just physically, but in every way possible. Tears streamed down Jonathan's face. Today, I have a father who loves me, a mother who welcomed me, a brother who is my best friend. I have a home, a future, a purpose. Ethan took a deep breath, and it all started because one man decided to come back, decided to see, decided to care. He looked directly at Jonathan. Dad, thank you for coming back. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for teaching me that family isn't just blood. It's love, it's choice, it's presence. The entire audience rose in applause. Jonathan climbed onto the stage and hugged his son. I love you, Ethan. I love you, too, Dad. Forever. That night, after the party, the family sat together in the living room of the mansion that was now truly a home. Dad, Ethan said, what? Remember that night? When I asked to hold your coat? How could I forget? I never told you, but before I approached you, I prayed. I asked God to send someone. And did he, sent you, even if you didn't know it yet. Jonathan smiled, his eyes glistening. You know, son, I figured something out too. What? That sometimes we think we're saving someone, but really, we're the ones being saved. Ethan held his father's hand. I think we saved each other. I think so too. Outside, the snow was beginning to fall softly over Greenwich, but this time there was no cold that could penetrate that house. because love had warmed every corner, and forever it would. And that was another moving story from our channel. If you made it this far with a heavy heart and teary eyes, leave that like. That really helps the channel grow. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new stories. Comment below, which part moved you the most? Was it when Ethan asked to hold the coat? When Jonathan came back in the middle of the snow? Or when Ethan finally called him Dad? And if you haven't binged the other stories on the channel yet, go check them out, because there's so much emotion waiting for you. Tell us, what city or country are you watching this story from? I love reading the comments and seeing where each person comes from in this beautiful family we rebuilding. A kiss to each of your hearts, and see you in the next story.